Viktor, Vampire Usurper by R.D. Trimble. Prequel to P. Mattern's best-selling and award-winning Vampire Princess Trilogy. Part 1. A Knife with Two Blades, wherein Viktor tastes the bittersweet fruit of betrayal and the true cost of a dire bargain. Chapter 1. 1457 A.D. Hunedoara, Romania. A man and woman ran swiftly across a long and thin bridge, overlooking its wooden form supported by four massive stony piers. The woman spared a frightened glance over the sides, down into the river's velocity below, and the surrounding greenery of trees, shrubs, and grass. It was an idyllic view that underscored the majesty of the castle they fled, their footsteps making soft taps as they ran quietly away. There was a slight noise from below as the river, a tributary of the Danube, moved calmly down a stair-like incline under a few cherry blossom trees, their faint vanilla scent adding to the luster of the vista she espied. A slight breeze blew across them as they continued their flight under the sun-dappled sky. The man took the lead, holding her hand as they sprinted, his arm reached backwards as he half-pulled her to keep up, her body sometimes stumbling in a jerking motion. He perspired underneath his elegant black silk tunic, which hung loosely over gray linen breeches atop pointed leather boots, each of which terminated in a bronze tip. At his side, a scabbard dangled from an intricately woven silk belt with an enameled buckle and end plate. In contrast, the young woman was dressed in much simpler attire. She wore a flimsy ochre linen dress, and her largely exposed legs ended in rounded leather shoes with wooden soles. The man's next yank on her wrist caused her to stagger slightly, and she let out a small, involuntary cry as her hand was wrenched roughly from his. He grunted in irritation as the sleeping guard in the tower awoke and came scrambling down the stone steps, a curved saber drawn and held in his right hand. He grabbed her hand and hauled her viciously to her feet and continued running, but at even greater speed. The guard exited the tower, briefly pausing underneath the coat of arms, a black raven with a ring inside its beak, the crest of Castle Corvin from which the pair was fleeing. He turned as they ran towards him, moving at seemingly preternatural speed, though it seemed that one was practically dragging the other, like a dismounted rider dangling from the reins of a wild stallion. The couple had kept up their frantic raid even as they darted awkwardly past the guard, who gazed in a sickened awe as the man continued to lug her like a rebellious child towards the other side. The woman was clearly injured, the bottom of her dress torn with several spots of blood staining it, even as several thin rivulets of blood ran down her legs, yet he continued to draggle her behind him. Then she fell again, and there was a sickening sound of cracking bone as she collapsed in a painful heap. The woman moaned, a strangled cry as she tried to drag her body towards her companion. A tear of blood ran down from the bottom of her right ear. Her olive-colored skin began turning pale, and her face was set in a mixture of pain and fear. "Viktor!" she screamed at him, her voice and eyes pleading for aid. The guard, an older man well into his 40s, had caught up to them. However, his expression changed to wariness as he met Viktor's eyes, and he straightened up, holding his saber unsteadily, instantly knowing that he stared into the face of his own death. Viktor's eyes were black and opaque, a hazy mist that he could not pull his gaze away from. They contrasted with the handsome and youthful face that held them, giving the appearance of a man possessed, and he wondered if he looked upon the visage of a dead man whose soul had long since been bartered. This has been a sample read of Viktor, Vampire Usurper, read and narrated by R.D. Trimble, soon to release in 2020. Thank you for listening. Good night.